Hello and welcome back to J.P.s World of Wrestling. I'm your man J.P. and today we're going back in time to the year 1990 to WrestleMania 6. I've got the shirt on, as you can see right there, a shirt of WrestleMania 6. I got this at Walmart, but it is an official WWE shirt. It says so on the label on the back. And here is my DVD, WrestleMania 6. This is probably in my top three WrestleMania, top five, top three, probably in my top three WrestleManias of all time. And it was once again, it was a loaded card. It doesn't say all the matches on the back of this one. It just says few of the feature matches and more. But there were a lot of matches on this. Now, for the first time ever, WrestleMania was going to feature two good guys in the main event. Now, both guys were very popular at the time. The Ultimate Warrior was an extremely popular superstar. Hulk Hogan, of course, was the champion. He was extremely popular. But at the time, WWF had noticed that fewer people were cheering for Hogan. You know, people were kind of getting tired of Hulkamania. They were getting tired of the hulking up and ripping his shirt, and you know, they were basically tired of him being the champion and winning every single match. So WWF looked at the Ultimate Warrior and they say, "This is the look that we're going for. This is the type of guy that we want representing our brand, and he's extremely popular. So we're gonna go with the Warrior." So Hogan agreed to drop the belt to the Warrior, and so they built it up starting at the Royal Rumble of that year, where at one point in the match, Hulk Hogan and the Warrior had cleared the ring in the Rumble match, and it was just the two of them face to face. I think the WWF just did that to kind of see what kind of a reaction the fans would get. What kind of if the fans would be into it or not. And the fans were really into it when it ended up being Hogan and Warrior in the Rumble for a brief time. So they went back and forth, and then finally clotheslined each other. And then the Royal Rumble continued, I think, with the Barbarian or Ravishing Rick Rude. I don't know, whoever the next one that came back was. But so then they built up this storyline where tempers were starting to flare. Hogan and Warrior would team up, and then the Warrior accidentally clotheslined Hogan, and then Hogan got mad, and then there was a point where Hogan was in trouble. The Warrior came down, saved Hogan, and Hogan's like, "Hey, I don't need your help." And the Warrior, so then they came up with this idea. The Warrior, who was the Intercontinental Champion, he had won the belt back from Ravishing Rick Rude, and then Hogan was the WWF Champion, and so they decided, we're going to put both titles on the line. Both men will put their belts on the line. It's champion versus champion, title for title, and that was the tagline for the main event. But, there were other matches on this event, and actually one match that's actually on this DVD, but it's actually banned on WWE Network, and some of you know which one I'm talking about. It's the one between Roddy Piper and Bad News Brown. And it's because Roddy Piper painted half of his body black. And I'm not sure what he was trying to do there. I don't know if he was really trying to be racist or not. I don't know. But nevertheless, that match is banned from the net. It really wasn't a very good match. It was just a bunch of brawling and rolling around on the ground and stuff. And it was basically just a fight. But nevertheless, it's not shown on network. But it is on this DVD. DVD came out. This is not a ripped from VHS DVD. This is an official WWF or WWE. It's an official WWE DVD release. And this is basically the WWE WrestleMania Anthology DVD, but it's just by itself. And I probably bought this because I couldn't find my Volume 1 Anthology DVD collection. So I bought this, and yeah, It was a good event. It was epic. It was the first ever international WrestleMania because it was done in Canada. It was in Toronto, Canada, which was then known as the Sky Dome, but now it's called the Rogers Center, and it's where the Toronto Blue Jays play. The For those of you who are not into sports, the Toronto Blue Jays are Major League Baseball team. So, but yeah, so I also wish I had this poster, but I don't. But yeah, I mean, this is probably the very last, what I would call big, epic WrestleMania. There was a lot of, there was some good matches on here. I think I enjoyed every match, but it was all culminating to this main event. This is the big, big main event. And one thing I noticed about this event too is that every other match was a tag match. They'd have a tag match, then a single match, then a tag match, then a single match, then a tag match. It was just, I think, a way of getting as many people on the card as they possibly could. And they do that nowadays, but they combine it into 2 nights. I mean, the card is so full that they have to go like 2 different nights. But anyway, I remember when this happened, the night afterwards, my sister Dina and I stayed up long enough, because this was during the school year, but we stayed up long enough to watch primetime wrestling to see if we could find, okay, what happened? Who's the champion? What happened? We don't know who the champion is. And so they said, okay, we have a new WWF champion, the Ultimate Warrior, who defeated Hulk Hogan. But they're like, as far as pictures and stuff, we don't have that yet. It just went down yesterday, so just be patient. We'll have video clips and photos of the event for you very soon, and the home video will be out soon. So as soon as the home video came out, my sister Dina and I rented it, brought it home. We watched it, and it was fun. It was a very fun event. I enjoyed it. I liked it. And I still liked Hogan, but I was rooting for the Warrior because I was kind of like, okay, I want something else. I want a new champ. I want to see what the WWE looks like with a new champion. So that's when they put the belt on Warrior, and some people thought he was one-dimensional, and I don't know. I know a lot of guys talk bad about the Warrior. They say his promos were terrible, and he wasn't a team player, and he was only for himself or what. And I was never around him. I never worked with him. That's just what a lot of the guys say. But when I was a kid, I loved the Ultimate Warrior, and I thought he was cool. And I was, like I've said, I was totally rooting for him at WrestleMania 6. Like I said, this is the last big epic WrestleMania that there was. WrestleMania 7 was okay. I mean, it was fine. But I really didn't care about the Hulk Hogan Sergeant Slaughter feud. I think the problem I had with that was that, the WWF had brought the real world into wrestling. And I'm more of a fan of when wrestling is its own contained world, its own bubble. I kind of prefer that as the bringing real world stuff into it. And I mean, to some degree, I guess it's fine. Like in the 80s, whenever they'd have like anti-American teams like the Sheik and Volkov, and then they had the Bolsheviks later on, and they just had anti-American teams going up against like all-American teams like the U.S. Express and Hacksaw Jim Duggan and somebody else. So to some degree it's fine, but I really don't like it when they bring like too much world stuff into the wrestling bubble. I just prefer my wrestling, because when I used to watch wrestling to escape the real world. I used to watch it to escape all that and just watch and enjoy the matches and the feuds. So, but WrestleMania 7, there was a big match between Warrior and Savage. It was a career match. It was okay. It went a little long for my taste, but there was actually a blindfold match at WrestleMania 7 with Jake the Snake Roberts and Rick the Model Martel. That was pretty good. And that's when the Hart Foundation lost the tag team titles to the Nasty Boys. And I think there was an Intercontinental Championship match, Big Boss Man versus Mr. Perfect, and that match was okay, but obviously they wanted to make Boss Man look like $1 million, but they didn't want him to win the title, and they didn't want Mr. Perfect to drop the title, so they did this whole angle with Andre the Giant. Anyway, this is supposed to be WrestleMania 6, but I'm just kind of giving you my quick thoughts about why I'm not really interested in going too heavy into those. And then WrestleMania 8 could have been huge. In my opinion, WrestleMania 8 could have been just totally epic. But instead of having Hogan versus Flair in the main event, well, they had a split main event. They had Flair versus Savage, and then they had Hogan versus Sid. I mean, I don't know. From what I understand from Bruce Pritchard's podcast, the reason why they didn't go with Hogan Flair is because they tried Hogan and Flair on house shows, and they really weren't sellouts. I mean, people didn't really, I guess the WWF crowd really didn't care too much about Ric Flair. I mean, I did, because I was just a wrestling fan. I wasn't a WWF fan or a NWA, WCW fan. I was just a wrestling fan. So I watched everything. So I knew of what a big deal Ric Flair was. And obviously I knew what a big deal Hulk was. So to have those guys together in the same company for the first time, I think WWF kind of dropped the ball on that one. And that might have just been Vince. Vince didn't really know about other wrestling, so he didn't really know about Ric Flair too much. I don't know. And maybe it's true. Maybe the WWF fans really wouldn't have cared about that WrestleMania too much. I don't know. I would have. I still think it would have been the most epic WrestleMania main event ever. But, it is what it is. So, and that's actually, WrestleMania 8 is actually, I take that back. WrestleMania 7 was what started the Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. WrestleMania 8 just continued it. But anyway, yeah, WrestleMania 8 could have been so big and so huge. But instead, they kind of messed it up there, I think. And then, of course, like I said before, WrestleMania 9, most people thought it was terrible, which is understandable, because it really wasn't great. I liked it. I enjoyed it, but, And then, like I said, after that, they started going into, the new generation WrestleManias with Bret Hart on the top of the card, or Diesel or Shawn or somebody like that on the top of the card. And those ones, that was, to me, I think that was kind of a slow time for the WWF. And it may have been the fact that Hogan was no longer there. They were trying to push Bret. And at that point, Bret didn't have a whole lot of really big, epic opponents to work with. So he did the best he could. And I commend him for it. I respect him. I don't necessarily agree with all of his viewpoints, because he's really negative about a lot of other guys in the business. But, I mean, that's his opinion, and he's entitled to his opinion. And I can understand why he has those opinions. But, nevertheless, this is about WrestleMania 6. And WrestleMania 6, in my opinion, was the last big, epic, great, super fantastic WrestleMania. Just my thoughts. Anyway, that's going to do it for this particular video. So, if you are new, do me a favor, go ahead and click that like button. Click the subscribe button. Go ahead and subscribe if you like what you see. And I will see you next time.